Hi, hello, welcome. I'm Ruth, and I went on an Ann Liang binger because I read three more of her books. So, the first book I read, A Song to Drown Rivers. The second one is If You Could See the Sun. And the last one is This Time It's For Real. So, we'll talk about This Time It's For Real first. So, this one is a teen book, so never mind that, but I think it could still be applicable in our lives. This book reminds me of like a cute romantic rom-com. It's very funny, charming writing, very cutesy. It reminds me of a Korean drama, a little bit about um, boys over flower vibe, and just the way it's written, I think it's, like I mentioned, so cute, and I'm obsessed with this story. So some of the themes that this book goes into, a little bit about friendship, discovering yourself, coming of age, and just doing what is right, or trying to do what is right. So the story follows Eliza, and she's like your type A, very smart student, and she's a very good writer. And I love that this story glamorizes and just really celebrates people that write really well, because I think it's such a talent to really express yourself in words, because one, there's so many words to use, right? And so expressing yourself in words, it takes a lot of thought and time. So love that she's a good writer. So what happened was, she writes this story that goes viral and everyone's obsessed with it, and now she's in this predicament where, does she follow through with what she writes, or does she come out and feel like a fraud? So she's in this predicament. We have a couple characters in this book that I love. Emily, who is her little sister, she reminds me of this character in Shameless named Debbie. And she's just so mature for her age. And I think she's just so aware and just kind of says what she feels. And she's very sneaky, but in a good way. So Emily like really does look out for her big sis, Eliza. And then you have Zoe, who is Eliza's bestie, and then Kaz, who is the cute movie star student that also goes to the same school as Eliza. And she has this like psycho, I don't even know if it's psycho, because I do think it's very endearing. She's like the queen of PowerPoint. So whenever she's trying to make a point, she does like this PowerPoint presentation. And I think it's so cute and endearing. Again, some people might think that's a little extra and psychotic, but I think that's just what gives her that, her personality. So one of the quotes I love that she says, because again, it just really describes Eliza, is planning things out in detail means there are boundaries, and boundaries mean I'll at least have control over something, which is so true, because that's how we are, right? We try to plan things to T to try to avoid things, but sometimes things just don't go our way. And it's kind of like the Jesus, opposite of Jesus takes the wheel scenario. But 4 stars for me with this book. So the other two books, A Song to Drown Rivers and If You Could See the Sun. So these two books I did do an audiobook, and wanted to throw out there that I feel like I have to differentiate, just because sometimes I think, what if listening to a book changes my perspective on how I feel about it? But at the same time, I think about, but if it's a good book and it's well written, it doesn't matter if I'm actually reading it myself or hearing it in an audiobook, because I'm going to like it anyways. But yeah, so we'll talk about If You Could See the Sun. So this story also takes place in a school setting, and this deals a lot with your identity, imposter syndrome, um, smart characters, people that can get away with things, typical like, okay, I don't know about typical, but some typical school drama and some not so typical school drama. I guess if you go to like a very prestigious school or private school, then that might be a typical or non-typical drama there. And so for this story, we have some rival classmates, Henry and Alice. And Henry has a British accent, and it's like, so, anything with like, I think anything with a British accent sounds so dreamy, and just the way it's when people say certain words with a British accent, it just feels proper. So Henry has a British accent, and he is like a superstar, smart person in the school. And then you have Alice, who's like the opposite, still smart, but just the opposite in gender. And they're like rival. And so, of course, you can kind of tell from their upbringing that it's a different upbringing and how they see things, but as they work together, you can kind of see the similarities. And this book really teaches you, like, hey, let's try not judging a book by its cover, because we really don't know what people are going through. Even though they show this facade, like in person or in social media, we really don't know what goes on behind the scene. So how they work together is something happens to Alice, and she now has to ask Henry for help. And so now um, she's she has to find ways to make money in order for her to continue going at this school. So that's how they work together. And so the writing, I enjoyed it. The voice actor for both of these stories, I think she does a really good job of just really bringing out the characters. And I felt for Alice, because she feels like she's always has to catch up with people, um, and feel that she always feels that she gets looked down upon because of her upbringing. So I think it's just a good story to kind of learn from. Um, this story is kind of similar to her other one that's written. I don't know why I'm like forgetting it right now, but I will link it up above. There's some similarities, but not that much. And then there's this teacher that Alice really looks up to, and I appreciate that he's that like mentor figure to kind of anchor her in what she feels, because he really challenges her and asks her, like, hey, what is your purpose, like what do you really want, and so he really makes her think about that. And I also think that the title is very fitting, because it really goes with the theme of the story. So this one is also a 4 stars for me. And then last but not least, we're going to be talking about A Song to Drown Rivers. So this one is not based on a school setting, but more so back in ancient China. So I didn't know this backstory, but this story is based on the ancient beauties of China. So there's like, I think 4 beauties of China, and Zisher is one of them. And she's like really beautiful, and she's apparently celebrated for her beauty and what she did for the war and things like that was going on at the time. And so um, this story is kind of like a spy espionage type of story, and it's a battle between 2 kingdoms, and it kind of reminds me a little bit like Dynasty Warriors. I don't really know the full story of Dynasty Warriors. I just know like the gameplay of it. That kind of just reminds me of like how the story is set in that time. And so this one, I feel like I've met these characters before. And again, it's that same book that I keep forgetting that she wrote. Again, I'll link it up above. But I felt like she kind of used those same character types into this one. So one of the guards that goes with them, he reminds me of like Oliver in that book, for example, just how his brash and like confidence, and he thinks he's the man and like cute. Like that's how I think of this character in the book. Zisher, she's beautiful, she's smart, and her main reasoning is just she really wants to help her family, and so she agrees to do this. So um, basically, she agrees to go to the kingdom, a rival kingdom, and try to get information and relay information back so that the current kingdom that she lives in can basically attack this kingdom. So there's more to the story than that, but just that's the gist of the story there. And she learns to be in this new role. So some of my favorite characters in the book are Zisher and Fun Li. He is just so stoic and rarely shows emotion and very calculative and a good fighter. So I really like that about Fun Li. And then you have Zheng Den, who is Jisher's like friend from the neighborhood and or village, and she helps out Zisher a lot. So I like Zheng Den too, and she reminds me of Mulan, basically. So for those of you who read it, I hope you'll get that reference a little bit. The other quote that stood out to me in this book is, "It is cruel for the great hair to bury the dark hair." Wow, like the way that it's written, I think it's very like sad, right? Because that just means that, you know, someone died young. So that was a powerful quote. I like how the book is written too. I think it's appropriate for the time, just the way the language is used. Sometimes it irks me when you're in a certain time period, but then the certain words that are used aren't for that time period. So it kind of trips me out. I'm sure there's some books that do that really well, but for period pieces, I feel like it should stay within the periods language. So pacing, it was a little bit slow, very like slow burn building up, nothing too crazy with action and things like that. I think it's just more focused on Jisher's story. So I'd also give this a 4 star. So wow, these 3 books, solid 4. And I just realized that these 3 books with their covers kind of have this blue hue going on. So I'm feeling blue today. All right. Well, please let me know your thoughts. Did you like any of these books? Did you have a favorite character? Maybe you didn't like these books. I would love to hear from you. Please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Happy reading.